Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you with another Wednesday episode brought to you by our sponsors, Gray Fox Games.
Woo.
Indeed. So, we're going to try a little bit of a format change. And I'm just going to say that because that'll make it less awkward.
Because you haven't had to do this.
Format change. Format change. We're going to switch things up here at Jeff's recommendation. Since this is a board gaming podcast, maybe we should talk about board gaming at the beginning, at least a little bit, so that people who are like, oh, listen to this new board gaming podcast aren't like, wait, what the fuck? Denver weather? Sports?
Snowboarding?
No. So we're going to talk about our board games, then we'll talk about all that stuff.
So they'll get into it and then be like, well, now they're talking about shit I don't care about. So,
but we already got the download. We got them hooked.
We had the download before it even happened, Jeff.
Yeah. This is more for like, I don't know, maybe YouTube stats. It's like, minutes watched. We get them longer before they cut off the minutes watched on YouTube.
Which we also hit 100 subscribers on. So we can name that now.
Yeah, and it's way more, you don't get to just pick your name. It's being a pain in the ass because it was one of those that, I actually set up the YouTube way back in the day.
Yeah, before we ever did anything with it.
And so like it's one of those where it's like first name Mile High, last name Game Guys, and
good, just like our
PayPal. That was a huge fucking shit show trying to fix that.
Yep.
But anyhow, let's go ahead and let's talk about what we've been playing to start this off with board game chit chatter.
Yeah.
So we took last week off of the podcast.
Yes. I was sick
because Jeff was dying.
And then you guys probably could have recorded, but Zach wanted to work more and get money, which is understandable.
And then I finished at like right around when I probably could have headed here, like 20 minutes later or whatever. And
yeah.
It's like, it's too late.
But then that also let Adrian go up to the snowboard condo.
Yeah.
And so then
I was like, all right, we're not recording. Pack up the car, Megan.
And then I was like, okay, I guess I will make money then.
Yeah.
So then I just,
But anyway.
So we have 2 weeks of board game night to catch up on.
So we'll start with you, Zach. We'll come back to you, Jeff, because you being deathly sick that week didn't really play much that first week.
No.
Whereas Zach and I were both here at my Christmas game night that Megan and I hosted here at the house, and we played other games during that week.
Got to keep that 7-year streak going.
Yeah. So Zach, what have you been playing recently?
Well, last Friday.
Streams.
Yes.
Damn it. See, we moved this. I even have a checklist that has streams. I just didn't have my checklist pulled up.
Zach was on the streams.
So Zach was on the streams.
Weirdly enough.
Yes. So last Friday.
Special guest.
Last Friday, before the illness overtook Jeff, we did a 4-player stream of Taverns of Tiefenthal with Leander.
Yes.
So that was my second time playing it, Leander's second time. You guys had played it a few times.
Mm-hmm. But it was
once.
But it was the first time playing with all of the modules.
Yeah, we threw in every fucking module that game comes with.
And we're still at not playing by all the rules.
Wait, what did we play wrong?
The being able to upgrade before you actually used things.
Yeah.
Because you were able to do it, but Leander and I were not.
Ish.
You used a power to upgrade a thing, which is how I used my upgrade, which is what I was not able to do, nor Leander. So that's why you have an asterisk.
I didn't realize that I thought you weren't able to use resources you got that turn to then activate.
Yes,
something.
That's what we were talking about.
Which that's not what I did. What I did was I had the resources for it just at the very, very beginning of the turn. So I upgraded mine like before the turn started. It's like, do I need to wait for like a certain, There was a debate about order of operations on my turn.
No, technically, so the thing that I didn't have us play with just because it seems annoying is that you can retroactively increase your production.
Yes.
If you upgrade, say you have your money to be able to build the better brewer, you're like, well, I'm going to use my money to build the brewer. So now I actually make 4 beer instead of 2. And so that makes a reputation go up to this much instead. And like a lot of going over shit that you've already done. And so it was just like, it always seems tedious for that. And so I was like, this won't come up at all. And then at the end, Adrian was the only one that was like, can I do this before I do this other shit so that I get better of it? And I was like, technically no, but I know you saved that or whatever. So it was because you had enough shit to upgrade it.
Yeah, I didn't use the stuff in my turn that I generated like from the dice. Like I didn't generate things with dice and then use that to upgrade. Yeah. I upgraded before we even drafted a single die.
Which technically you can't do. You only upgrade during the serving phase.
Oh.
Yes.
We'll find them. Anyway, I have an asterisk.
Yes.
But I also got to win. So
By 2 points.
By 2 points.
Yes.
Back on the board.
Yep.
So Taverns is fun. All the modules feel like they fit pretty well. They don't really, none of them seemed really out of place.
Yeah, the guest book was interesting. I
like that one a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then your free drafted upgrade at the beginning was cool too.
Especially because everybody can, like, someone doesn't get a unique advantage because they got a better card or anything.
All three of you have, or all players have 3 options to choose from.
Yeah, so like for all 3 of us chose one thing, whereas Leander chose a different one.
Where we got an extra die every round.
Yeah, an extra die and so.
It seems like some of those are clearly like better than others.
Well, I mean,
like,
one of them is basically just the base setup. So
yeah, just do the base setup. And then there was one that upgrades, like you get the table upgrade or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like definitely would take the table upgrade too.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting decisions at the beginning of that game.
Yeah. I feel like it can drag a little bit with 4 players, but I still
4 max?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. Not too bad.
Not too bad though.
It drags a little bit more on stream because you do it a lot more like individually, whereas you could play simultaneously a lot if you were just playing.
Well, the majority of it is played simultaneously, except for the drafting and then the...
Usually after the first draft die choice, it doesn't really matter.
It goes pretty quick.
Yeah,
usually.
it goes pretty quick. Yeah.
The first one is important because you might be screwed out of something that the first player drafted.
Yeah, I would say the second one can be influential too, but the third and
fourth are like, no, it's usually at least those decisions come much faster because you're only looking at 2 things.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, Taverns is real good. I like that game. I'm glad Zach bought it.
As am I.
Because then that means I can play it.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that was our stream little over a week ago. Then this past Friday we did another stream. And we did a 4-player game of Terraforming Mars with the new Turmoil expansion.
Yes,
for 2 reasons.
For 2 reasons,
because you got the Turmoil expansion.
I got Turmoil,
and then also our first Terraforming Mars stream was before
on our old bit rate.
Yeah, the old bit rate, so it didn't look good.
Yes,
and so it looked super fine this time. I'm sure there was no focusing issues or anything.
God damn it, I know, right? Nah. But the game itself went really well. I've been thinking more on it. I want to play it some more, but I think I really like that Turmoil expansion.
It's neat.
It just adds different things to think about.
It adds event cards and it adds that politic action.
Right.
But then it also kind of stomps everyone down because every round you lose a terraforming rating due to the politicking that's going on.
Yeah.
Which helps counteract a little bit preludes, like beginning bonus.
Yeah, so it slows things down where like Preludes stomps on the gas, Turmoil kind of stomps on the brakes.
Which is always good for a car.
Yeah, just smash them both down at the same time.
See what wins.
That has never been a problem.
No,
never a problem in the world of politics.
Nope.
Not even a little bit.
The event cards were cool. They had icons on them that let the neutral. What were the neutral?
Delegates.
The delegates.
Delegates.
Because there was delegates, leader, and then chairman.
Yes.
And then there was 6 different.
Definitely not delegates. Delegates.
Yes.
Yeah, you did keep saying delegates,
and I just said it too.
Lobbyists. You could say, instead of delegates.
Not really.
If you keep accidentally saying delegates, you could say lobbyists. Yeah, I mean, you even take the lobby action. Like those are
to move your delegate into it. So.
Yes.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what they call it in the game. So
you're moving from the lobby, but
Correct.
That's just like the place that your guys sit.
Yeah.
So you put your delegates into the 6 different factions. Each faction has a power. The more delegates that are in there will be what whoever is leader of that delegation will become chairman. They won't lose they'll gain a terraforming rating instead of everyone else will lose one, and then whoever's the chairman will just get one back. And then their bonus will happen, and their bonus will take over for the entire next round. Like titanium is worth 4. Every time you put down a plant tile, you get 4 money back. Every time you have to go up in a terraforming rating, you have to pay $3. we only ran across it once where someone was going up in a terraforming rating and whether they had the option to do that or not. Like, what if they didn't have the money? Like, they put the plant tile down, the oxygen goes up, but they don't get a terraforming rating. I assume it would happen if they couldn't afford it. That was the only one that was kind of weird.
Yeah, well, there are definitely times when I could have gone up on that one, but I didn't have the money for it, and I think with Megan too. So,
Yeah.
I think we saw all of the different delegations be in charge at one point or another, some more than once.
Yeah.
The terraform rating one was interesting. Was that like the Reds? They didn't want it. They wanted to protect Mars's nature and not terraform the planet, and that was their delegation. But whoever got the bonus from them, whoever was lowest in terraforming rating, got a free terraforming rating that they then had to pay for.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
yes, it was. That's what happened with me. Yeah.
Yeah. All the other ones are pretty basic though. Nothing too out of this world. We got the scientist, you could pay 10 money and just draw 3 cards.
Yeah.
And then the thermal lists, you could pay to get steel or thermal production or
I
something
think it was
like that.
energy and heat production.
Energy and heat production. Yeah, that makes more sense. There was someone else that had to do with steel, or you got steel for every delegate you had or whatever. The event cards were super interesting because you had to have delegates in certain things because that's where like bad stuff happens, and that's where the breaks get applied even more. Like Adrian got boned because he had a ton of plants. We had like 7 plants, and then the next event was keep plants for every delegate you had to a max of 3. So you lost like 4 plants.
5
plants.
I ended up with 10 plants when that thing hit, and I could have kept 6, but I made a critical error.
You did make a critical error, yes.
And I was like, oh, yeah, Zach has 5 money, so he can afford another delegate, but I have the lead right now, so I don't need to worry about it. And then I passed. I was like, wait, no, we're tied. He's going to take the lead, and then I can't retake it.
No. Yeah, because you need to become leader, you just have to have more than whoever has the lead, which you then lost a bunch of plants.
I did.
Yeah. We had Riot to start off with, but we mulliganed that because it's just everyone loses a fuck ton of money, I think.
Based on cities.
Oh, everyone loses it based on how many cities were out, right?
No, you lost. Everything is tied to your own corporation. So however many cities you had out, you would lose 4 money per that.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
So we should have kept that in, and fuck you guys that had prelude cards that gave you a bunch of cities.
Well, it definitely helped me having all those cities.
It was in. That card was in the game.
No, it wasn't. It was on the bottom of it. We were using it as an example, and so you threw it on the bottom.
Yeah.
No, like, so when we went to start and I went to flip the initial one, I was like, oh, I forgot to shuffle. I gave it like 2 quick shuffles and it just ended up on the bottom. I didn't stick it on the bottom.
Well,
that was just random.
I see.
It wasn't like we intentionally kept it out of the game or something because Zach had a bunch of city preludes.
I guess what I mean is just because like it was revealed for that, and so then you shuffled it back in. Yes. So
yes.
That's It just happened to be on the bottom. Yeah. Like that's what I said. I don't know what you were talking about. So
what? I'm so confused.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the event cards were interesting, some better, some good, some bad, but it was neat having them in there.
Yeah.
Turmoil is a cool expansion.
Indeed.
Even the cards they added had a lot to do with like you having at least 2 delegates in a certain delegation.
Or it was the ruling one.
Yeah.
Or being leader.
All of the ones from the new expansion, I think, had a faction requirement associated with them.
There was even one that you had to be the chairman to do something.
Which was really annoying because I passed it to Megan, who was the chairman. And I was like, well, I could take this and then not be the chairman and not get any points. And then she would get 2 points off of this other card. Or I give her this card, she gets 2 points, and then I get 2 points for this other thing. So that's what I was going to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I really like that. I want to play more. We were talking about it on the Slack channel, and like Sid mentioned that he really likes Venus, and I tend to trust him. So that makes me want to try Venus again. And I definitely at some point want to do like an everything game.
It's
It'll be
so
like
hard with an
4.5 hour game.
It's so hard with an everything game because you're going to see a quarter of the deck. Like you're not going to see much because of how many cards are going to be in the game.
I mean, I have almost every card almost every card in the game is in my deck already, and we got most of the way through it.
Venus comes with a fair amount of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it comes with like I think another 30 or so.
Yeah, and we still were quite a bit away from the bottom.
Yeah,
we probably just have to do the like
5-4.
Do 5 and keep 4
or more. Like
5 and 4, I think.
I don't like playing with
would've
every
trimmed it up.
expansion in that because you don't see every card. You don't get to reshuffle. That means if you ever see one card and don't take it because it's a late game card, that's just never going to be in there, and it makes all those late game cards useless.
That's understandable.
Meh.
You don't even have a real good chance of seeing them if you play base game. Like, yeah, it'll get reshuffled, so there's a chance they'll come back up, but it's certainly not a good chance.
I mean,
like
but
having at
it's
least-
a non-zero chance.
Yes.
So.
I like having at least one shuffle
I
in the
have
game.
never once in my life in that game discarded a late game card at the beginning and been like, man, I hope I get that at the later, and then actually gotten it. Like, that has never happened. I think it's a non-issue.
I think it just makes all the late game cards useless.
It makes all the late game cards you get in the opening hand useless.
But
Or do what I do and keep 9 cards and sit on 4 of them until late game.
yeah, I don't like playing. I don't like playing with every card just because I want at least one shuffle in the game to be able to see some of those cards again. Or like, why have them? Like, because a lot of those late game cards are very late.
Because they can come out late. Like, they could just as easily been shuffled in towards the bottom of the deck and come out late game.
Or not even seen, period.
I mean, it's like saying like that an early game card like Dust Seals, why even have it in the game?
Well, in this game, it didn't fucking matter.
Exactly.
Because we got
Sometimes they
5
won't.
ocean tiles out.
They'll matter when
Literally, it didn't matter when the game started.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you should throw Dust Seals out, because just because it didn't matter in this game doesn't mean it won't matter in another game where it comes out appropriately.
It just gets way too bloated with all the expansions. Way, way, way too bloated.
We assume, because we haven't played it with all the expansions.
Well, Adrian has all the stuff in there.
Well,
for all the.
I know, but we haven't played with all the expansions, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, because, I mean, you still had colonies cards in there, even though we weren't playing with colonies. You just took out all the colony-specific cards.
Yes,
Most
and
of
I
the
took out all of
colony-specific
the I left 1 in.
That's
Yeah.
most. That's not all.
Uh-huh.
If you want me to pull up a dictionary, I can.
I also pulled out all the ones that deal specifically with like the floaters from Venus.
Yeah.
So there's probably 20 cards I have pulled out of my current deck, and then I think Venus itself adds like maybe 30.
So that's 50 cards.
Yeah,
That's
so it's like a whole nother deck.
Yeah. And that would be 50 cards we wouldn't have seen. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So.
And we still had a significant portion of the deck that we didn't even get through.
Yeah.
But that's assuming too that, playing with colonies and everything else, there's more things to distract us, so we go more eras, so we do the draft more. I mean, I think there's a balance there.
I think I would just say if you were playing with that many cards, you'd want to do 5-4.
Yes.
That's all I'd say.
Yeah.
Then adjust accordingly. But
Yeah. I'd just rather focus on certain expansions instead of playing with everything.
I mean, that's understandable. I mean, I'd want to try it once.
I wonder how the game would play if you just took out the corporate era stuff and added the expansion stuff. So you'd have just the base game and then all the expansions. Because the corporate era is a huge chunk of cards.
Well, then but if you're not playing with those, then you would do everything 1 up.
Well, just play with the corporate era rules of just
Yeah.
having no production.
Yeah.
Because then the expansion cards would add in that higher level stuff.
What's the question? I missed the scenario we're discussing here.
If you played Terraforming Mars without the corporate era cards and then added all the expansions in, would that leave enough flavor for all of those expansions without all of just the corporate era base cards, like bloating everything?
Yeah, but the corporate era cards are some of the best cards in the game.
Well, maybe play without the base cards, but you need some of those base cards.
Yeah.
It's just trying to cull out some of that bloat that this game is clearly getting with all these expansions added to it.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about it until I try it and feel like, oh, it's bloated. But I mean, that one, we still had a huge chunk of cards left at the end of that game, and I didn't feel like, oh, I didn't get to see Demos down.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I saw it. But it was in the opening hand, so it was useless, like we're saying.
Well, but I mean, but this is the thing, like you have no way of knowing. Like, I don't know. I think that's if you would go through the entire deck almost twice, so that there was a better chance that you would actually see every card. But especially because of the way the drafting works and how easy it is for all 3 of you to trash a card. Like, yeah, I don't expect to see even a quarter of the deck anytime I play.
Yeah.
Like, that's not why the cards are in there. They're not in there so that I can see all, 400 fucking cards.
No, but it would be nice to even have a chance to do that.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, yeah, the expansions add a lot of cards. And
Yeah.
if you try and go an expansion strategy and those cards just don't come out, or they're all shuffled in the bottom, and it's like, well,
Yeah, if you're playing with all of them and say you have the Venus specific corp.
It is nice
and
that
then-
Turmoil added a Venus symbol on the side, on the Audi people.
Yes, Unity.
Unity people.
Yeah.
So that added something, because all the later expansions didn't have any Venus stuff in them, I don't think.
Some of the project cards from all of the expansions, like I had to pull out project cards from every expansion I own that all had floaters. Like
Project cards?
That's what the main deck is called. Those are project
Oh,
cards.
okay. I see.
I had to pull out project cards from every expansion. Like even Prelude, I have some Prelude cards pulled out because they're floater Prelude cards.
Yeah.
Like no, they've included Venus stuff in kind of everything.
Yeah. I think it would only really hurt any of those corporations that deal specifically with like an expansion stuff. So the Venus, like the floater specific one, that if you have you go through maybe half the deck if if most of the floaters are on that bottom half for whatever, because of random. I understand that's a chance you're going to say. No, I'm just saying I can understand if you add too many cards and it sort of dilutes certain specific strategies, right?
Sure.
Like Race for the Galaxy, I know can have that same thing. That's why they're like, play with these expansions and then go play with this expansion instead, and then with this one.
Yeah,
So-
but they designed Race to be that way.
Yeah.
Terraforming Mars is in
Not.
theory designed to have everything played.
Yeah.
In theory.
In theory.
Yes.
So I looked it up. There's 49 new project cards in Venus. So
Yeah.
And you took out 20 cards?
I have I don't know for sure.
So, and I'm assuming, does that include taking out the colony ones, like the colony specific ones too?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's my Venus and
Yeah.
colony
So
specific
that would have
cards
added
that I pulled out.
70 cards to the deck.
Yeah,
Which
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Which is why I threw out, like, if you take out the corporate era, but what does that game play without the corporate
Yeah.
era cards?
And so
Paul had an interesting idea of like maybe going through the deck and like dividing it into early, mid, and late, and then shuffle and like
I've
stack
seen
it
that.
so that as you go, like, so you'll see late games in the late section of the cards.
Yeah. I've seen that theory thrown around out there, but then
Yeah.
it's all like, well, someone's got to go through there and be like, is this a late game card? Is this not?
Well,
Is-
Well, any chance of me getting pets earlier is fine by me. So
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, then it gets to be an interesting thing because normally I'd put an ocean card that has a requirement of 4 oceans. Normally I'd put that at least mid game, whereas in our game that worked great from the fucking start.
yeah.
I got
So-
that like frost
Oh yeah. Yeah.
resistant bacteria, and I was like, oh, thanks for that free card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like again, that's another.
I mean, it still would have gotten you a forest had you played it, assuming you were able to get it before the sixth or the sixth ocean was played.
It was the temperature.
No,
because
it
temperature
was,
didn't go.
there were just 5 oceans out already.
Yeah, 5. Yeah, I would have been able to get 1 free plant tile.
Yeah, for $12, that's not too bad.
But I did get a space elevator turn 1.
Yeah. So anyhow, that was Terraforming Mars. That was our second stream.
Yeah.
I want to play more Terraforming Mars.
Yeah.
That's all
We
there is
played
to
with
that.
the new Turmoil player boards. They were
Yes.
perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Yep.
they worked well.
So other than that, I'm not going to talk. I've played a fair amount of things because it's been 2 weeks. At the Christmas game day we held here at the house, I did Letter Jam again. I learned more rules that I didn't know that just make it better.
That sounds right. Yeah.
So Letter Jam, I'm really, really enjoying. Then I on Zach's cribbage cribbage board, I had one of the best games of cribbage of my life against Allison, where I think in 5 out of the 7 hands, including the first 4, I had triple runs or double run of 3 or better in like 5 out of my 7 hands for that game. It was a much more one-sided game than the end score indicated. She had like 2 really good hands right at the end that kept her from getting skunked.
Gotcha. Unlike my game of cribbage, where it was me, Wes, and Paul, where Paul double skunked me and skunked Wes.
Yeah.
And that was accurate for what the game that we played. Paul just had good hands. Wes had good and bad hands. I just had bad hands.
But yeah, so that was fun. You know, we had like 20 people over here and crammed into my house. We only had to overflow into the podcast studio for the one game of Letter Jam. But it was nice. But the main thing I want to talk about, Megan and I have been playing a lot of Spirit Island lately. We, including doing one of the scenarios we have is second wave. And so basically you play a game of Spirit Island. And then
First terraforming Mars. Because now you're colonizing the colonized
Correct.
Mars
Correct.
with all of the ghosts.
Ghost to Mars.
Ghosts of Mars.
Yeah.
John Carpenter's famous
Yep. Is that the one?
Ice-T.
I see. Yes, it was Ice-T.
Yes, it was.
I knew what you were thinking.
Yeah.
But no, anyway, so you play a game of Spirit Island, and then the second wave scenario, basically, at the end of that game, you set up to play another game using a lot of the stuff on the board already. So, like, you get rid of all of the spirit tokens that are on the board, you get rid of all of the invaders, then you, like, some of the tokens move around, the Dahan, like, move to where they're more scattered, they don't stay in big clumps. If you've got a big horde of them that was killing cities, they kind of scatter.
Your time of peace.
Yeah. And then the city comes, then the enemy comes back and they're like ratcheted up a notch. And every time you win, like if you win and the island isn't blighted, you have to increase the difficulty one. If the island is blighted, you don't have to increase the difficulty, but you don't get to like clean up the island. Or maybe you do still, you reset the island. I don't know. But you get to keep doing it. You can do it over and over and over again. And so we did a couple runs of those. That was actually a lot of fun. Then we did a couple games where we played it two-handed, so we each played two spirits. So it was like a 4-spirit game, and we played on like the 4-tile board, like it was like a full 4-player game, but we each controlled two spirits.
Seems like a lot.
Yes.
I didn't think it was too bad, but I was surprised. I have never seen Megan like struggle with AP as much as she did in the like 2 games of two-handed that we played. She was having a hard time sometimes keeping them straight. Whereas I did a really good job of just like synergizing my 2 spirits really well to where they were like helping each other a lot.
Yeah.
And doing a lot of work that way. So I liked it. Playing it two-handed. It's definitely a neat way to kind of like change things up a bit if you want to play on a bigger map. But it's definitely not necessary. I didn't think it like drastically improved the game or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, been enjoying getting Spirit Island back to the table. We probably played like 4 or 5 games between the last time we recorded and now.
2 weeks.
A little over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Or no, I guess it's been 2 weeks since the last time we recorded.
Yes.
Because the last time we recorded, I had forgotten to talk about Spirit Island at the condo.
I see.
So like 2.5 weeks.
Gotcha.
We've played like 5 or 6 games of Spirit Island, which has been awesome.
Takes up no less table space.
No, it's still huge. And then
what's the new Kickstarter? Jagged Earth?
That was the first one, wasn't
Was
it?
that the first one?
I can't remember the specific.
No, that one
expansion
was
names.
some. I don't know.
Because there's an expansion coming, right? That
Yes.
has successly kickstarted
Yes.
and will be
At some.
September 2020. Who knows?
Fucking, I don't think I ended up backing it because that was back during the unemployed times. But and then the other thing we played that I want to talk about real quick, we played 2 adventure games.
But you played 2.
Different like escape room in a box games.
Yes,
We
because
played-
one is called Adventure Game.
One is
Yeah.
called Adventure Game.
I feel like that one's not
the
an
escape.
Well, no, that's not supposed to be an escape room in a box.
No,
So
It's more like, what was that other reusable? That
Unlock.
Is it more similar to Unlock?
No, I would say it's like an old school computer like room by room RPG where it's like go north, go south, go east.
Oh, like
where
a-
you get to choose like 5 different things in the
So it's
Not
scene,
Snipe Bards. No.
like Myst or something,
yeah.
like way back. Where
Parsley Games
Sure.
did that adventure game.
something
computer
like that.
adventure game
Like
game.
basically each room you're in, there's like 4 or 5 things you can interact with, and there's ways to like try to use like, oh, I've got this brick that I found as an item. You know, what happens if I use the brick on the lock over here? And it's like nothing happens, or it's like this lock is shabby, and you smash it with the brick,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And then we played, and then the other one. So that was fuck these names. That was
Adventure.
Adventure Game The Escape.
It's
is, I
from
think, the
Cosmos, the
subtitle.
same people that do all the exit games.
Yeah.
But that's their reusable version of that.
Yeah.
That wasn't the like skyscraper one.
No,
Okay.
it was like a medieval dungeon one.
Gotcha.
And then we played something else, The Awakening.
Escape
Tales.
Tales.
Escape Tales The Awakening, which is another like story game branching paths all in a box, solving lots of puzzles. I won't talk about them a whole lot because I know you guys haven't played them, and I don't want to
It
accidentally
is
spoil
spoilery
anything.
for
they
that
could
one.
be very spoilery, but both of them could be very spoilery.
The adventure games are much smaller.
Yes,
But the Escape Tales is supposed to be like a multi-session kind of Time Stories-esque story.
which they say that, and then the rules give you no example of how to ever stop playing and like save your progress. The fucking Escape Tales one does.
Adventure game.
Adventure game tells you like you can stop, but like it's three sessions or
Yeah.
whatever, and they tell you how to stop between them and how to resume. The Awakening didn't give you any of that fucking information, and like there was no way I could see that was a logical way to just stop in the middle of it, because trust me, we wanted to. We wanted to, but we didn't want to deal with trying to set it back up, so we powered through it. We finished it like 30 seconds before the ball dropped on New Year's Eve. So the very, very, very last thing I did in 2019 was finish that fucking game, and I never want to fucking touch it again.
Wow.
I did not enjoy it. It has only gotten worse the more Megan and I have talked about it and thought about it. We were very unsatisfied with The Awakening.
What didn't you like about it?
Everything. I want to go more into depth, but I can't really without starting to spoil some things. So I'm going to wait until you guys play it, and then we can do a Mile High Game Guys Ruins episode where we can just spoil the shit out of things, and I can talk about all of the different things that I did not like about that game. But yeah.
It is Jake from Draft Mechanics, and probably Danielle. They love that game so
Gotcha.
much. He was demoing it, the new one at
Low
Geekway.
memory or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I did not care for it. We really enjoyed it for about an hour, and then we were like, okay, we are done.
Just tedious or any
It definitely. I think it would be a significantly better game if it was a half to a third as like the length.
So you played through the whole thing.
We
in
played
one
the whole thing in one
session,
night, like
which
4
is-
hours in
which
one
is,
night.
I think it's 180 to 360
60
minutes.
is what it says on
Yeah.
the box.
Well, the way it sounded like he was saying that there wasn't a logical way for you to stop halfway without just leaving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did not super appreciate that. But yeah, so those were see if I can get the names right this time. Escape Tales The Awakening
Mhm.
and Adventure Games The Escape. Yes. Adventure Games The Escape I liked. Escape Tales The Awakening I did not like.
Yeah, Cosmos did all the exit games,
No,
and now
that was just Adventure Games The Dungeon. Is
The
what it was.
Dungeon, okay.
Yeah.
the dungeon.
The other one's
Hey.
called like Monochrome Ink or something like that.
Man, it's their reusable line
Yeah.
along with the exit games.
Yeah.
Yep. Monochrome Ink is the other one.
So
That one
Have you
would
played
play.
any of the unlock games?
I have played one of the unlock games.
Is Adventure Game better or worse
yes,
than
better.
Better.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
better.
yeah.
I thought it was significantly better than the one unlock I played.
Gotcha. I've also
It is-
only played one unlock
It is on par with any of the best of the exit games that I
Okay.
have played.
and reusable.
And reusable.
No scissors required.
No scissors.
I mean, I'll still take scissors to it.
I mean, you definitely could. There were puzzles in it that would have benefited from cutting up the cards, but I was like, this is Zach's copy, and I have to give it back to him,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to cut it up.
You already tainted it by playing it before me. So
I got your permission first.
Was I drunk?
No, I don't think.
Not yet.
Maybe it was after a very gin and tonic heavy stream. I don't know.
Maybe.
But anyway, that's what I've been playing. Sorry, that went a little bit long. I wanted to keep those two much briefer than they ended up being, but it is what it is. So, Zach, what about you? What have you played over the last 2 weeks?
The only things I want to talk about are Jeff and I finally got to try out Marvel Legendary, the card game,
Yes.
because I got Marvel Champions,
Yes.
the card game. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Legendary Marvel is a thing.
Yes, it is. Marvel Champions, the card game, because I got a used copy at Black and Red for like $30, if that.
Yeah. Someone really didn't like that game, apparently.
And I was like, you know what? I'll pick this up.
Yeah.
And then we
It
tried
was
it.
probably played once, I would assume.
That seems about right.
Your
Yeah.
cards seemed pretty new.
Yes, they were.
I wonder if it was something where somebody was like, oh, my grandson really likes Marvel. And they got it for like somebody who just did not care for it. At
Like a
all.
deck constructing LCG, probably not for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they got it for like, their 12-year-old nephew thinking like, oh, it's a silly little like Monopoly board game. And it's like a legit game. And the kid was like, no.
But anyway, we did the intro scenario of I was Captain Marvel
I was Spider-Man.
And we fought Rhino or the Rhino?
The Rhino.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah. I'd heard some comparisons to Arkham Horror or Lord of the Rings, the card game. I never played that one, so I couldn't tell you on that one.
Yeah, I never played the Lord of the Rings one. Not the LCG. I played the deck building board game one.
Well, I haven't played that one either.
Yeah,
So.
the Lord of the Rings deck builder.
Was that part of Cryptozoic? So it was all part of that same style of deck building?
No, I want to say it was a Fantasy Flight.
Okay. Well, I know Fantasy Flight had a Lord of the Rings, the card game LCG.
Yeah.
But anyway, this one is, like we said, each one of us was a hero, and you're also the alter ego, which was cool. So you always, like, I started as Carol Danvers, and you were Peter Parker.
Yes.
And basically, you're just going around. So the villain he's scheming, because villains like to scheme.
Yep. He's trying to break into a vibranium vault.
Yeah.
Well, then.
As he is wont to do. And so if he reaches a certain amount of threat, he wins. Or if both of us get knocked out, which is our health gets reduced down to 0, he wins. We win if we get his health on all the various stages that he has down to 0. So he has like stage 1.
It's like 14 per player.
Yeah. So it was like do 28 damage. And then he went to stage 2 for him. And then it was like 30 more damage for him in order to knock him out for good.
Yep.
And I enjoyed it. It is like every round you have like these encounter cards that are coming out that will like attach upgrades to him that'll make him like hit harder or
makes his horn extra shiny.
Yeah, or he puts on armor that you have to destroy before you can actually hurt him. And then extra schemes will come out, and it's like, we're trying to fight that, and all of a sudden it's crowd control, like a riot comes out, and we have to fix that before we can deal with any of his shit.
Okay.
And minions can come out and hurt you.
They'll attach to your character.
Yeah, but you can you can bring out allies to help deal damage or to help thwart. Which thwart is just reducing the threat on the schemes.
Because if he gets, I think if he got to
14,
14 we would lose.
Yeah.
True, we're close a couple times.
And what I found out quickly was that like I had 12 health start, like my max was 12 health, yours was 10.
Yep.
You could go through that pretty quickly if you weren't paying attention.
Yeah, because you're taking 4 to 6 damage in that first phase, and then it goes from like 6 to 8 possibly if you had the right upgrades.
And so
that's when you want to go back to your alter ego, because you can exhaust them to heal.
Yes.
And I had like a card in my deck that was Aunt May. I'd go over to Aunt May's place, she'd feed me, and I get 4 health.
Yeah. And I had stuff to heal me, and then it was cool that you had cards that were like, these are hero cards, so you can only do them when you're a hero, and ones when they're alter ego cards that you can only do them when you're an alter ego.
And then the enemy also had ones that targeted the alter ego or you.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a hero.
Yes. And you actually had like an obligation card that gets shuffled into the encounter deck. So like Peter Parker gets an eviction card. So that's like he can either...
He's too busy fighting crime to pay rent.
Yeah, and so you can either turn into Peter Parker to go deal with that.
Because he's a scientist in his alter ego, so he has to go be a scientist and get rent money, basically.
Yeah. Or you could just be like, fuck it. I won't worry about it now, and it does some
It'll
negative,
like exhaust your character.
Yeah, some negative thing, and then you put it back in the encounter thing, so it'll come up again. But if you deal with it as an alter ego, then it's removed from the game. But you can only switch from hero to alter ego and back, and back and forth once per round. And so if there are no heroes to fight the villain, he's just going to gain a shitload of threat. So it's like this balancing act between you and your you and the other players, because it's all cooperative and you're trying to fight it. I think I felt the difference between our characters a decent amount.
I didn't feel too much of a difference in mine. I mean, he had like the spider powers, but nothing really felt.
I mean,
if I would have played any of the other decks, maybe I'd feel it more. But mine felt pretty basic, but they were just basic starter decks.
Yes, but you had a lot of dodging stuff and like throwing like trackers and stuff like that.
But we never got enough of the minions for me to like use some of my like abilities.
Because as Captain Marvel, I just wrecked face with damage.
But I mean, like I had that one card, like the swinging web kick that did 8 damage.
Yes. Or and you just kept backflipping. You're like, I take damage, but nope, never mind.
But I do it for free. It's like I pay 0, I just negate all damage because I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Or I use
sense.
And then there was the spider sense where if threat would get added from a like when revealed card, I'd just be like spider sense, nothing happens.
Yes,
and cancel the card.
There was a lot of cards that
card cancellations.
Yes, which makes sense for Spider-Man because he can anticipate that stuff. Like I had a like energy channeling stuff that was like, oh, put this down, and then you can spend cards because like Arkham, it has symbols on it that you want to spend in order to get those resources.
Yes, but I didn't run into any specific cards that needed specific resources until later.
Yeah. Mine were like if when I was charging my energy thing, I needed to spend energy cards, which makes sense. But then once I was able to charge it all the way up to 5, I was able to do like just 10 damage and just do a shitload to fucking Rhino.
I liked the theme of it a lot because it's comic book Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
multiple times Jeff would always be like, they have that in this?
Yeah. I was like, whoa, deep cut. Like it's some pretty deep cuts on a lot of these. They have Claw. No one really knows except the goofy guy that has like a satellite dish for an arm, but he was Andy Serkis's character in the Black Panther movie. And I think he was in the one before that as well.
Age of Ultron.
Because he was the guy that stole all of vibranium.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, they're using his comic book really goofy version. But like She-Hulk, her alter ego she's a lawyer. I mean, that's what she is. She's a trial lawyer, but she's also She-Hulk. But she's always She-Hulk. She never like turns back into like normal looking. She just is always green.
Just She-Hulk with a lawyer outfit.
Yes, that is 100% what she is.
Yep.
And that's a alter ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she has to go, protect someone's rights.
Yeah.
But they had like a lot of Silver Sable and like Spider-Man teaming up with Daredevil. Like you had the Hulk in your deck.
Who was fucking the Hulk. He did a shitload of damage, unsurprisingly.
But his damage is random.
Yeah. Well, he will always do 5 damage to whatever you're targeting. But then you draw a card, you discard a card from your deck, and whatever symbol it has, he can do more damage to the enemy, do damage to you, or he just fucks off.
And he just goes
goes away.
And then they play the sad piano music.
Yeah. We were able to get like 20 damage off of him, which was great. Before I decided to throw him.
We were getting low enough health
I was like,
Hulk needs to go away.
Yeah.
I look forward to trying some of the other decks. I looked at some Iron Man. Iron Man only has a hand limit of 1 while he's Iron Man. But while he's Tony Stark, he has a hand limit of 6. But his deck has a lot of upgrades. So you're putting like the helmet on, the boots, the repulsors, and that each of those increases your hand limit as your Iron Man. So the more tech you get. So I want to try and check that one out next.
Cool. Right on.
And then all the expansion, Green Goblin, Captain America, and Ms. Marvel expansions came out and are already sold out. So I'm already behind on my LCGs.
There you go.
Yep.
I put a pre-order with Mike Jones at the Wizard's Chest for the next ones.
I need to message him and be like, hook me up as well.
Yes.
I know we were looking at getting an organizer for it because the organizers so normally with Fantasy Fights LCGs,
the best insert Fantasy Flight is made in a long time.
So normally like they're really small, and you can't.
It's just a trench usually.
Well, not even that. The regular card ones are like the expansion box sized ones. They're like really
they're very
thin.
very small. Yes,
and people are like, well, this is useless. So
they
made a bigger box to hold a lot of cards, and it's like a plastic one, and it has all these things where you can put dividers to separate the cards into different things. Except they didn't include any dividers with it at all.
So there's like 2 spots for like tokens and things like that. I think the cards can fit in those spots, but there's too many cards to fit in there. And there's all these spaces for dividers, and they have cutouts on the side. Like dividers would go there. Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, can you put the health tracker? No,
Nope.
Those are too small. What about this? Oh, that's too big. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, I really don't understand what they were doing with that.
Are they selling dividers separately?
Yeah.
Like, did they run out of space in the box to put the punch outs for the dividers?
I almost thought about asking Paul to be like, there are like people that made like 3D printed dividers. Could you print them for me?
Yeah, I need like 10 of those.
But like we found Meeple Realty was $20 for an insert or an organizer for it. And I was like, I'll probably just do that then.
Yeah, Broken Token has one for $30, and I could see no discernible difference between the two. They all have token trays, they all have card trays, and it seems like the Meeple Realty one even has more dividers that come with it for $10 cheaper. but it's on pre-order in like 2 weeks. So it's not out yet,
Gotcha.
but it's also brand new. So
Cool. So what about you, Jeff? What did you play besides a whole lot of Marvel LCG?
well, I played pretty much all those games except with you, Adrian.
Yep.
The one thing I'm going to talk about is I picked up God of War, the card game, a couple weeks ago. And Zach and I played the kind of like the first round of 3 in that. I thought it was interesting. It's God of War themed from the new PS4 video game. And it has an interesting card tableau system. Like each encounter is like a tarot, bigger than a tarot card.
Yeah.
I don't know. A large card that is double-sided.
That it's making a picture sort of like Time Stories.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be similar, except bigger.
Except bigger, because it's like cards. The first one was like 4. It was basically 2 rows of 4 on top of each other.
Yeah, and this one was a 6x2.
Yes.
Because we were fighting 2 giant troll things. One was like frost powered, one was fire powered. And we would have to, we each start with like a deck of 14 cards. You draw 7, and then you use those to like melee attack, ranged attack, or defend. And then there's a bunch of modifier cards that will do how much attack you do. Then there's a die that the enemy will roll that will like is their defense die. It's like 0, 5, 1, 1, 2, 2. And like of the like 5 times you rolled it, like 4 of them were 5s.
It was pretty ridiculous.
Jesus.
But there at the end of each round, you pull an upgrade card off the deck because it's a deck builder. But it has a rune on it, and that's what cards will activate in the tableau. So when the card activates, it will do a certain thing. In this example, it would flip where those 4 troll cards that made up, like it was a 2x2 of the trolls, and it would flip over, and now it's doing like the smash with its giant tree attack animation and would damage anyone like next to where a certain icon was.
Okay.
Which was cool, unless you had to keep flipping those 4 cards over and over again.
Yeah. But this was also like a very big monster that you're fighting. Like a lot of times it's only one card is an enemy and that one card will flip.
Which makes sense,
we were fighting such a large monster, it was flipping both cards. And it would give it different abilities because it had like 2, like a frost and fire brazier thing that we would have to go over to and attack. And when we attacked it, it would make the other one more powerful. But if it overflowed, it wouldn't get any more powerful beyond 3, but then the other one would be empty, and its defense die was based on how many times it would roll for how many tokens were in there. So we got it to 0, it would have 0 defense. So it was kind of like a little boss battle.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah. And then the scene activation cards would make a pool of 3 cards, and then we would just be able to take one, put it on top of your deck, and you'd be able to use that for the next round.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you had like your Spartan Rage powers that every time you played a card with a certain icon, it would load up this power that would let you do a bunch of extra damage and heal and stuff like that.
Right on.
Yeah, it was neat.
Neat is a good word for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see, because we only did the first scenario because when we started it, we didn't really have the 90 minutes that it would take.
No. Yeah.
But as it looks like it gets harder as you go along. So
yeah, because you get some modifiers added to your deck that like waste cards, and then there's like a final boss battle. And then there's 10 different tableau scenarios that you fight against. And then you can only ever do like 3 in one session based off like your quests and then your final boss.
Yep.
Anything else you wanted to talk about, Jeff, that you've
don't
played? Sorry. Now, that was God of War.
Yes, that was God of War.
The card game.
Yeah.
The card game.
I look forward to trying it out some more. Now that I know how to play and what all the symbols mean, because there's a lot of iconography in that game.
Okay.
But it does have a very good back of the rule book. This is everything and what everything means.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right on.
And I played all those other games with you that we've already talked about.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. All the streams and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, let's just keep moving right along here then. Do either of you have any do you want to do a little banter break? The BB?
Yes.
So there's no Blood Bowl?
No Blood Bowl. Semifinals happening this week. We'll find out who's going to get to the finals by next week.
Right on. So yeah, since last time we recorded, we had the full stretch of the holidays. We were going to have a New Year's episode, but Jeff got sick and then recovered. Megan is now sick and hopefully will recover.
That'll make your Japan trip awkward.
Yeah. Oh God. Be a lot cheaper though.
right, we'll just let her know.
But yeah, so we did the game day here. That went down real nice.
We already talked about games, Adrian.
yeah.
Come on, man.
I know. I got to do a good amount of snowboard. I bought a new snowboard. I caved, and I spent almost $1,000 on a new board and new bindings.
Looks fancy.
The
bindings look nice.
Yeah, they've got aluminum heel cups.
Yeah.
That are pretty great. Although then I immediately learned about like really, really deep heel side carves, and now I'm concerned that those metal heel
they're
cups
off the
stick
side.
out too far.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But you can adjust the bind. Can you move them up?
I might. I think my feet are small enough. I probably can. The biggest concern would be like if I move. Like I got to stay centered on my board.
Yeah.
I can't go too far forward. Thankfully, I've got tiny feet, which the only
With
time
your lady boots.
With my lady boots, the only time like snowboarding is one of the few areas where I'm actually happy to have small feet though, because like I read so many like stories of guys with like size 10 feet. Size 10 boots that like toe drag when they try to carve, like their toes drag in the snow and it fucks up their carves and stuff.
Yeah.
And they have to get like wide boards. And I'm like, nope. I got a regular board and my feet stay right centered in it and don't overhang too bad.
Yeah.
But I love the new board. I got to go try it out. I was really nervous. Like I'd been doing research for a long time and I finally because I spent almost $1,000. Like I was really doing my research.
Yeah.
And I got it, and then I was also looking at my old snowboard stats and like things about it, and like they're two very different snowboards. And so like we were going up, and I was like, man, Megan, I'm real nervous. I was like, this is a big change in snowboard for me. What if I hate it? Like, what if I suck on it? Like, it's a different like board shape, so like I'll probably catch edges more often. Like, it's not going to be as flexible, so I'm not going to be able to do some of my like little butter flat tricks that I like so much. I was like, I don't know. And then I got on the snow and it was just like, nope, fuck this. This is amazing. It is so fun to ride. It wants to fly. Like it is so fast. Like we for one run we switched. I was like, do you want to try it, Megan? Like, you want to see, because she's been thinking about getting a new board too. And she was like, no, that's fine. I don't want to take away from you riding your board. I was like, we got like, this is a short run basically from like one lift to the other, like for where we're trying to go. I was like, ride it for a short run and see. She's like, oh, okay, fine. So we switched boards and I rode as hard and as fast as I could on her board. And she just vanished down the run from me. I was hauling ass, like as straight lining as I could on her board, and I could not keep up.
Yeah.
And we got to the end, and she's like, "Oh my god, that's a good board. I like that board."
What's the brand?
I got a Yes board.
Yes.
So Yes is the company, and I got their Pick Your Line, which is kind of a free ride backcountry board, which I definitely got with an eye on my Japan trip, because we're going to take our own boards. And so it's got a really interesting like taper to it, to where it's much wider in the nose, and then like it tapers down and then tapers down again. So it gets a lot narrower in the heel. And so in powder, that narrow back end sinks down, and that fat wide front end.
But then you won't be able to ride switch, I would assume.
No, it is a very directional board. You can ride switch.
It's not ideal.
It isn't. It is not. Its switch rating was fairly low, but luckily I don't give a shit about switch. Like it's
not that you weren't trying to learn switch or anything.
Well, I can ride it well enough for learning switch, like on flat territory. Like I'm not going to ride switch in the backcountry.
No.
But I don't know. I lost what I was going to say about it. But yeah.
Your taperings.
The other thing that was rated really low was its jibbing. But I was like, I don't fucking jib anything.
What is jibbing?
So jibbing is anytime you ride your snowboard on things that aren't snow. So like if you hit a box or a rail, or if you like jump up and like, smack a sign, like that's a little jib move.
I see.
It's not good at jibbing.
Okay.
But I don't fucking do that anyway.
No.
So I don't care. Yeah. Bought the snowboard, got to ride it for a couple of days. That was a lot of fun. I think we're going to do a day trip on Wednesday. Unfortunately, I have stuff going on every evening this week, so we can't go stay at the condo.
Yeah.
But trying to get some more days in, trying to get the snowboard muscles built up for Japan, because holy shit.
Those thighs ready.
I've been watching a lot of videos at work. Like the plant's been shut down, so I've had nothing to do my last 4 work shifts.
Yeah.
And so I've been watching a lot of like Japan snowboarding videos, and that fucking powder, man. Oh, I'm so excited. So now that we lost Zach and everybody else who doesn't care about snowboarding, that's what I've been up to, buying a new snowboard and going snowboarding.
I hope I can bum a friend pass from someone at some point and see
definitely
how my leg does. up yonder.
Have you gotten any more information about getting a new surgery on that?
I passed on it, on the fibula surgery.
No.
Yeah.
Is it not together at all?
I haven't had an
fibulas?
X-ray since September, but it has been bothering me much less. So going through and starting recovery all over again, another 6 weeks on crutches, 12 weeks in a boot, doing all that fun stuff. What for how much it's not bothering me. So, I mean, if it ends up being a problem with snowboarding, maybe, but I'll wait till I get better insurance before I do that.
That's also fair.
Understandable.
I keep an eye out for warehouse jobs at my company because my company has great insurance.
I'm sure.
Being a medical company.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll keep an eye out for the Jewish
Accounting
nonprofit.
jobs?
No, the Jewish warehouse.
Warehousing
Jewish.
Jewish nonprofit accounting jobs.
Yeah.
Someone's got to move that paperwork around, man.
Yeah.
So Jeff,
Just a
you didn't
forklift
go.
just
You didn't end up going home. You didn't end up going home for Christmas, but you're about to go home, right?
Yes,
Okay.
this next weekend.
Cool. So, what about you? What about you guys? Any exciting holiday stories? You guys had a VR day. You had your VR day.
Yeah.
VR, yes.
We played with the Index for a significantly long period of time on Christmas Eve.
Yes, we did. We got to your place at like
1-ish? 2-ish?
No, I got there at 2, and then we started like after setup and everything, it was like 2:45 or so, and I think I left your place at 11. I want to say.
Yeah, it was an all-day affair.
I think Paul pieced out at like 8 or something like that.
I thought it was later than that.
Maybe it was 9.
Yeah.
But we played a lot.
I made Aperol spritzes, and we had some frozen pizza.
Yep.
And chips and dip, and played a fuckload of VR.
Yes, we did.
Started with virtual. Nope. I think we did the hand
simulator. I started it off first with that, and you have
because it was the game that teaches you how to use the finger tracking
for
on
the knuckles.
Index knuckles. Yeah.
Yeah, you posted a video somewhere, like Slack or something, of Zach like struggling real hard to put a gun in a holster.
Yes. Well, that was a different game, Arizona Sunshine.
Yes.
So the problem with that was I kept instinctively like holding the trigger for like I wasn't actually.
He was gripping with all of his fingers,
which I shouldn't have been doing on that one.
But if you grip with your trigger finger,
you shoot.
It shoots.
Yeah. And so I kept trying to be like, is it here? And then I would just let go and it would just fall to the ground.
Fall to the ground.
Yeah. But yeah, the highlights for me at least was number 1, super hot VR, like with a bullet. Yes.
Yeah.
Super hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Played a lot of super hot VR.
Yeah.
That annoyed me so much when I played that game.
Well, it doesn't do that as much now.
It's only when you finish.
It's only finish the level, like not
a set of levels.
A set of levels. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Basically, when you go back out of super hot,
because it's like 5 to 8 little sets make up like a session, and then you can kind of go back or proceed.
Yes.
Yeah. So just like games going from like 2D to 3D, like playing super hot 3D versus like in VR is like a world of difference, because
I bet.
It is like when a bullet's coming for you, you see it like coming towards you. And boop. Every once in a while, like you would turn just as a bullet hit you in the face, and you'd always be like, "Oh God."
Paul was having a hard time understanding that the game only went as fast as you moved.
Yeah.
And he was flailing, so the game was going very fast.
Yes.
He would try and do everything very quickly.
Yeah.
It's like, you can do all of that much slower, and it will be the same.
Yeah. No, because there's one part where you're basically standing on in a strip club where like where's the stripper pole and all that stuff, and then 3 guys just start shooting guns at you, and you basically have to avoid them. And the first couple times I was doing it too fast, and I was just like, oh God, bullets are coming everywhere. What do I do? And then I was just like, all right, calm down.
Slow down.
And it was just like, slowly move to the left. And it's like a bullet's coming to you, you just ducking under it and like watching it go past you in VR was really cool. And what's really nice is that you can just grab the bullet out of the air.
Yeah.
So like a bullet come towards you, you can just be like, and it's coming close, and I grabbed it.
Yep.
You can't do that repeatedly, because then your hands get all like wavy.
Your hands are like shields.
Yeah. But so it's just really cool. And like you're picking up stuff, throwing it, taking blades, like there's knives and you can cut bullets with that, which is really fun.
Katanas.
Yeah.
Cut bullets in half.
And it was real cool. If anyone has or is getting VR, that's like the number 1 game you should get.
Yeah, I had seen on Reddit that they had sold some incredible amount of units in the past like month and a half, basically since Alex.
So Half-Life Alex
Yeah.
is a Valve is like, hey, we're gonna do another Half-Life game. It's a prequel, but it's gonna be a full-length game and it'll be in VR.
And it's for every VR. You don't have to have Valve's specific VR.
You can have the Oculus or the
If you have Valve's specific VR, you get some weapon skins and the game for free.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But also Valve's VR is $1,000
$1,000
to get everything. So
Yes. I really liked Virtual Reality. It's basically just a Rick and Morty VR thing.
Oh, great.
Where you're just in Rick's garage and you have to do a bunch of stuff.
You're basically
like
a
little
Morty
puzzle
clone.
things. Morty clone. Yeah. And you go off to some other world and then you play like all the galaxy. What's the name of the Federation?
yes.
Whatever. All the bug guys come at you and then you're just like shooting them. And Rick's telling you, it's like, sorry, we can't get you out of here. Just, I don't know, kill as many as you can before you die.
And if you go back there later, there's like a big statue of
like
you killed 140.
Yeah, like in honor of the whatever planet massacre. And then there's like a little...
Yeah.
But it's all just like little vignette mini game kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then there's one where you have to like push button, pull lever, put thing in spot, put lever to specific thing, and you have to do that like 50 times or whatever to like recharge a battery. But you're on a timer with like 3 strikes, so it's like you're hitting the right.
So it was really funny to watch Paul flailing around that one too. Another cool one, like so Valve just released a bunch of like minigame things. The hand simulator was part of one. It was called like the lab, right?
Yes, the lab is free.
So there's some that's like just like little vignette things.
It's like 6 or 7 little fun things, but it all uses Valve's like hand finger tracking tech, which is cool.
Yeah. One of them's just like they basically took 3D pictures of different areas of like top of a mountain or in these things like this.
Wyoming, Iceland.
And you go there and it was just like I was standing on top of a mountain and I was like, well, now I don't need to hike this at all ever because it is 100% the view that I would get up there.
Yeah.
Because now I can just leave. Great.
And then you can throw a stick to a robot dog.
Yep. And it would go grab it and then
you could see it go into the distance.
Yeah, and he'd go grab it, come back to you. You could scratch his belly and stuff like that.
Yep.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's like a little robot hot dog.
Yeah. And then there was a bow and arrow like tower defense thing. That was real cool. Because you're aiming with the bow and you're pulling back and letting go with the arrow. It was a lot of fun. And that was probably my favorite of the lab.
Yeah, and then there was one where you could like pull. It was like a slingshot, and you were like throwing balls at and trying just to destroy like this warehouse.
But it was all the what were the personalities?
The personality cores from Portal 2.
So, okay.
Yeah. So that was a random shit. One was definitely by Justin Roiland. But there was one that was like a climate change one that was supposed to be like Al Gore style.
Yeah. But they just keep talking until you shoot them.
Yep.
Okay.
Then there's the Tracer Core. That you can actually see the arc that it's going to hit.
Yeah. And then the last one was that I played near the end was Pistol Whip, so Beat Saber is a big game for VR, which is basically Guitar Hero, but with lightsabers in your hand and you have cubes coming towards you.
And you have to go up, down, left, right with each hand.
Yeah. You're basically slicing them, but it's a rhythm game.
Yeah.
This one is like that, but with guns, but instead of the cubes coming towards you, you're coming towards people. So that has a little bit of a...
You feel like you're on a treadmill? Track?
A track,
One of those things at the airport.
Yeah, sure.
And so that one was the only one that really fucked with my mind, like fucked with my balance
it
at all.
It very much did it with me. Because at one point, I played on like normal on one of them, and you have to like duck down because there's like barriers that'll go like above you or to your right or to your left. And so I basically had to get down on my knee to go underneath, but then you have to start like shooting and then moving. And I just sort of fell on my hands. I was like, I can't, no. I just got too dizzy.
For me, the only time was like, I was moving over something and then I was just like, oh, I'm going to fall forward because it's the momentum. And I was like, no, wait, got to remember, I'm not actually moving. But I was able to do the normal on that one after a couple tries. Because I was just like, no, one more time. But fuck that. All right, one more time, Jeff. But it was a lot of fun. And I definitely want to get a VR headset now. So
Megan basically gave me permission to get one. We were like talking about something. I was talking about because we were getting ready for the Christmas game day. So we were cooking and cleaning and shit. And she's like, I don't know how it came up, but I was like, yeah, they're all over at Jeff's place playing VR. And she's like, you've talked about getting a 3D printer, but if you're going to spend like several $100 to $1,000 on fancy new gizmos, you should definitely just get a VR because I want to play a VR. It's like, it sounds like I just got permission to buy a VR. Yep. So
after Japan,
yes, yeah. I think I'm going to look for the Oculus Quest because technically, to be fair, my roommate he had two PSVRs. He had like the version 1 and the version 2, and he basically just gave me his version 1. And so I tried playing that for a bit. That was fun. I want to get Astrobot Rescue Mission. I've heard that's like the best game for PSVR, and it's exclusive to that.
Yeah,
basically a little platformer game. But so I was playing with it, and I knew how like you had like a top of the line headset.
Yes,
and,
the top of the line headset.
And it's like 144 hertz refresh rate, like 130 degrees of field of view, like all the bells and whistles. So
the best controllers.
Yes. The PSVR is very much not that.
No, but it is probably the one that has sold the most, I think.
I wouldn't be too surprised.
Yeah.
Because I think technically you only need like $200 to get in on it.
Yeah, the PSVR headsets were always really popular.
Yeah. But I tried it, and it was not nearly as bad as I was expecting it to be. It definitely wasn't as good as yours.
It's no Lamborghini of VR headsets.
Yes, but it was. I played it. I
saw a Lamborghini out in like a Target the other day.
Oh yeah, no, there's Lamborghinis, Maseratis, Ferraris. All
I was just like,
here.
that's a very expensive car to just be at Target.
But I was definitely pleased with that. But I also don't want to spend $100 on a PS Move controller for any of the actual VR.
It's like $100 for a bundle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to go for the Quest, especially because you can spend $80 or less eventually and connect it to your computer as a regular headset, because the Quest is its own standalone thing, but it has the processing power of a smartphone.
Yeah.
But it's designed specifically for that, so it's using it as well as it can. It's basically the Switch of VR, I feel.
Yeah.
And so, but the fact that you can get an $80 cord and then connect it to a good computer, and then it's it's running all that stuff. And I saw like a little grip thing that puts the controller in your hand like the Knuckles do.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, yeah, this is eventually, once I get my car, then I will look into getting that. So
right on.
And the only reason I got mine was because I found a good deal after Alex was announced of someone that was selling it.
I think I got it before Alex was announced.
It was right when the rumor for Alex came out, and then I think it was right when Valve was like, hey, we're going to announce that later. And I was like, I should look at things. I was like, well, that's a good deal.
You got like $600 or something like that?
$650.
Yeah, which is good deal for everything. So
cool.
Yeah.
Any other bantery things anybody wants to talk about?
I mean, I did forget one short thing on Blood Bowl.
Okay. Well, before you do Blood Bowl, I do have one more banter thing.
Okay.
The Patriots got fucking stomped in the wild card yesterday.
By the Browns or?
By the Titans.
Basically the Browns.
Basically the Browns.
I've seen a bunch of pictures of Remember the Titans with just a picture of him crying.
Does that mean the Patriots are out?
The Patriots are out of the playoffs.
Wow.
It was the first round of the playoffs. The Patriots lost back-to-back games in Gillette for the first time in 10 years or something. And this is one of the first times in I don't know how long that they're not
in the
playoffs anymore at this point in the playoffs. One of my favorite things is early, with 5 minutes left in the game, the Titans coach was killing time by intentionally taking a delay of game penalty, and then they intentionally did a false start, and then they intentionally did something else, basically getting penalties and getting backed up, but burning clock. And you could see Bill Belichick on the side motherfucker, what the fuck? Just throwing a fucking fit. And it was great because everybody was like, Bill Belichick did this exact same thing against the Jets 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
And so now he's all salty when the tables are turned. But yeah, the Patriots lost.
I mean, he might have just been saying, that's my fucking move. What are you doing?
Quit plagiarizing.
Yeah. And then the Texans also won big. And then the Saints lost, which is fairly unexpected. The two wildcard teams that won for the AFC are both teams that the Broncos beat hardcore. So that feels like a like a spiritual victory or a moral victory there. Like, hey, those two teams that we beat real good, and they're at the end of our season when our season was starting to trend upwards. They are winning playoff games and beating people like the Patriots. So, yeah. Broncos are still not in the playoffs, though.
No.
Unfortunately.
I don't think the Bears are either, but they did beat the Vikings.
Yeah, and the Vikings won today. The Packers play next week. I don't know. I haven't seen how the schedules, like where different teams are going to go play.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Yeah. So now that's all of Banter. Now that I got my sports and my snowboarding covered, and you guys talked about VR. So now we can jump back over real quick to wrap things up with a little quick bloody minute hit. Maybe actually just a minute. I don't know. We'll see.
I'd forgotten that Paul had played his quarterfinal game.
Oh, it's about Paul?
Yes. And against the Block Like an Egyptian who smashed me.
It's a great name.
Yes. They proceeded to smash Paul.
Okay.
Paul apparently got pretty unlucky. Once again, they started the game with pouring rain, which was a minus to pick up, but that apparently didn't stop the Khemri, who needed a 5+ to pick up at that point, because they're edge 2 and it's a -1 to pick up. They have sure hands, but apparently the Wood Elves were the ones that were having a problem picking up the ball on a 2+ reroll.
Jesus.
And then he was able to swarm the ball, and Paul took like a lineman out of the game with a serious injury. So the Khemri scored a defensive touchdown against Wood Elves in the pouring rain.
What?
Yes. After that, I think Paul just ended up taking a lot of guys off the pitch, not with like serious injuries, but casualties, and ended up conceding before the end of the first half.
Oh, wow. Paul conceded.
Yep.
Damn.
So it'll be Block Like an Egyptian versus Ant in the Mannheim Cultists, Corn on Khemri.
For the final?
For the semifinals.
Oh.
Yep. I still have my semifinal game that I'll play Thursday against Nurgle. Once again, the last game of the season was against him, which we tied, I think, which gave Ant the #1 seed. And but he's missed next game his plus strength guard block Nurgle Warrior. So I'm gonna have a little bit easier time this time, but still no slouch with 2 Mighty Blow Claws.
There you go.
Yeah. And correction, Zach, it was indeed the Cryptozoic Lord of the Rings LCG, which I played the Return of the King version at Bicycle Cafe probably like 3 years ago.
Alrighty then. So no Kingdom Death hour?
Nope.
Any scheduled Kingdom Death?
There was one, but that's not going to happen.
Going back to Chicago.
He'll be going
during that.
Okay. Well, we will. We'll see in a few weeks maybe.
And we're getting very close to being able to talk about Pandemic Legacy Season 2 in a Ruins episode.
Zach and I have back-to-back victories in July and August.
Yep.
Yeah.
So moving right along.
We all got all the way to the beginning of November in ours.
Cool. Yeah. So anyhow, all of that aside, let's move on to some news and Kickstarters.
First up in news, Capstone has announced their next in their Iron Rail series, Ride the Rails.
Yeah. So this is the follow-up to Irish Gauge, which is the first in their Iron Rail series. And Ride the Rails is a 3 to 5 player game from designer John Borer under his Harry Wu pseudonym, because John Borer is like renowned for having like 40 pseudonyms.
Weird.
I don't know why he does so many pseudonyms. But
this is another winsome game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this one essentially it's different than Irish Gauge. So Irish Gauge, you're actually like laying the track and more like
putting the choo-choos down.
Yeah. This one, you're still investing in railroad companies, but it's a more direct investment. Like you're taking, well, I guess you do take like stock things in Irish Gauge.
Yes, you do.
And you still build track across, but this one you're actively trying to deliver passengers to cities, whereas in Irish Gauge, you're more laying the track and the investing, and then just there's a dividend phase where based on what cities you're connected to, you get points. In this one, you're actively trying to ship passengers around, and like different cities are worth different amounts, and different route lengths are worth different amounts, and so you're trying to kind of balance all of that. Similar to Irish Gauge, it's really simple. There's 3 actions. You can either take a share, build a railroad track, there's 3 phases. The first phase is everyone takes a share, then everyone builds a track, and then you ride the rails. And based on, and the whole crux of the game, which I haven't played this one, but from what people were talking about, the whole crux of the game is like shared incentives of like, hey, Zach, let's work together to kind of like build over to this city because then we can really ship some passengers really good and fuck Jeff. And then Jeff's like, no, Zach, if you do this, then we can fuck Adrian. And the Zach's like, well, I do like fucking Adrian. So
We're not doing phrasing anymore.
Yeah. Context,
So it's allowed.
Yeah. And then each round there's a new railroad that comes in, and each company has its own like special rules about how you can place where it goes and things like that. And you're just trying to deliver a bunch of people to a bunch of cities. So I'm sure Zach will hate it.
Sounds right. Yeah.
I'm assuming like if Capstone publishes it, I assume Zach will hate it.
Yeah.
Until proven otherwise.
That's why I haven't played Bus.
Yeah.
Because
that will be, if there's one that's out there right now that will break that.
And it's made by Splatter too, so I'm real. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Zach doesn't know what he'd do with himself if he ended up liking a Splatter game and a Capstone game all at once. It'd just be too much.
Yeah. There'd be an in memoriam section, and then you'd have to find a new co-host. So, yeah.
So that's Ride the Rails. It's going to be released on July 1st, 2020, and will be accompanied immediately with a Ride the Rails France/Germany expansion, which is just a double-sided game board with France and Germany, so that you can ride the rails in the US or in France or in Germany.
The France and Germany versions are going to have some special rules to be able to play on those maps, though.
Yes.
So it's not...
That's good.
It's not just a different map.
Yes.
Yeah. But I like that they're keeping it fairly cheap. $40 for the base game, $20 for the expansion.
Well, and that's the
kind of
MSRP. They don't wasn't Irish Gauge, the pre-order was a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And that's kind of the idea with the Iron Rail Gauge is in theory part of so when some games for a long time have been like just print and plays because people are like, these are so niche and they're so simple. Like it's not worth it to make them.
Yeah.
And then Capstone was like, I think I can get it to enough people, and they're simple enough that I can actually make them really affordable games. And so I'm super excited about it. Plus that cover. Oh man, it looks real good. More Ian O'Toole artwork.
Prolific.
I wish I could have afforded to get Ian O'Toole to do our D&D artwork.
How much was it?
I didn't even inquire. Are you kidding?
I'm
I didn't
just
even
curious.
inquire.
The way you said it sounded like there was a starting at blah blah blah, and you're like, yeah.
I mean, it's like saying I wish I could get like Usher to play my wedding. Like I don't know how much it costs to get Usher to play your wedding, but I bet I can't get Usher to play my wedding.
It'd probably be cheaper if you just got him to usher your wedding.
It's also probably a lot cheaper now than it used to be.
Yes,
very true.
Yeah, I don't know why I pulled Usher of my expense.
Yeah,
that's in his bucket list.
That was a weird pull.
I just reached up there and Usher, sure. Initially, it was going to be, you know what went through my mind first? That
Cisco.
I changed to Usher?
You should have gotten Cisco.
Seal. Seal went through my mind first.
Well, you should have seen Popstar.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been eaten by wolves.
You know how I got those scars?
Anyway, yeah, Ride the Rails, July 1st, it will be available. I'm definitely going to try and snag a copy. So, moving on in news.
Up next, the next Undaunted is coming out. Undaunted North Africa. So this is that deck builder that came out with the Germans and Americans, like 15 different scenarios. It seems like this one is going to be the British and the Italian army in North Africa. They're going to add in some new action, soldier types, vehicles, structures, etc. Basically adding more scenarios into the game.
Yep. Yeah, we've talked about Undaunted before a little bit. Jeff was interested. 2-player deck builder.
I mean, we've played it, so.
Oh, you guys did?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about it on here.
Yes.
Wow. Don't know how I forgot about that.
Probably because you weren't paying attention.
I mean, that's possible.
Probable.
I'm looking forward to playing some more regular Undaunted because it seems like some of the later scenarios that add in a lot more of the complicated stuff make it into a more thinky war game than just sort of move and shoot and roll a die.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need to print out some quick reference sheets for like what the abilities do.
Yeah.
Because it's like command. Well, what does command do? Well, it lets you draw a card. Or what is like recruit 2?
Nice.
Yeah. Because it's all in the rule book, but you have to flip
through. Yeah.
Quick reference. Everything should have quick references.
They should.
Yeah.
So this will have extra tools, new actions, soldier types, vehicles, structures, things like that.
Yes, which is what I said already.
I know. I
verbatim.
Just because as this is part of closing out, I was going to give a little tidbit back to the game and then say again, Undaunted North Africa coming out June 2020.
Yeah.
Next up on news.
Next up,
because we got off on like some weird tangents about AC, and I was trying to bring it back home, and then Jeff stabbed me in the back.
Yep. Next up in news, board games. You thought that there was too many coming out already, but this whole industry still growing into the double digits last year.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just an article here about Kickstarter and the board game industry in general, raising tons of money and more games coming out and board game bars opening and things like that. Kingdom Death Monster still the fourth most successful of all time at $12.4 million.
So it's definitely the most successful that's actually happened. How many of those above it haven't happened? Because there's
the cooler for sure.
Yeah, like that was the most
that
successful
for like
80%,
a tenth of the people.
10% or however
I
many.
thought it was more than that.
I thought it was still.
I mean,
many.
there was a lot who didn't get it, but I thought that was just a function of how many people backed that stupid blender radio cooler.
Cooler blender radio. The cooler was the main thing, Adrian.
But yeah, it's been another good banner year for board games.
Keep on going
until it stops.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of people have been like, "Hey, this can't grow that much more. How much bigger can this get?" Clearly, we haven't hit that limit yet.
I mean, I always think it's an interesting because people say that oh, we have to have reached peak board games. Like, no,
not yet.
Like video games are so much bigger, and video games are still a niche. Like, there's a ton of people who don't play video games. Like, there's a lot of room for board games to grow and still grab market share.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you're in something that's like say 0.01% of the population is in that hobby, and then it goes to 0.1% of the population. If you're in that already, you're like, it's grown 10 times. How big can this even get? But there's still so much more to go.
Exactly.
How many people still haven't seen Star Wars or anything? You think that's just a given that someone would see Star Wars, right? But
you would think,
but there's still a lot of people who are like, nah, never got. And you're like, what the fuck's
monsters?
Yeah.
Well, and especially as board games grow more and more internationally too.
Yeah.
Board games are huge in Europe and the US, but they're making huge strides. The last few years we've had that African board game convention in Nigeria start up. I'm getting ready to go to Japan, and Japan's got a vibrant board gaming scene.
Definitely. Yeah.
And things like that people aren't even aware of. There's tons of room for things like these.
It's one reason why PAX Unplugged exists is because it was originally part of PAX, and then it just kept the section too big, and they had to break it off to its own thing, and it was 27,000 unique people or something, which is Origins is only 20.
It's grown to 3 years?
Exactly. Gen Con is 53 years now, and
they're pulling down 60K.
70K.
And this one is 27K after 3 years, just because it was getting people who were originally video game or just fans of Penny Arcade not knowing. They're hey, there are board games too. And they're like, oh shit. So that's why
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Tabletop brought a lot of people in. So it's just famous people that are into board games showing it to people who like them. They're like, oh, that's still, so it's still, you still got a long way to go. So
yeah. Well, I think Gen Con's a good example of that. Whether, at 70,000, a lot of people at Gen Con aren't board gamers. They're not there for board games, but they're getting potentially exposed to board games. And still 70,000 is the biggest convention in the US, for board games.
Yeah.
there's a lot of other industries that could easily knock out a 70,000 convention.
Oh yeah.
You know, like there's plenty of room for board games to grow for a while
Yeah.
before it hits a problem. Like, yeah, you might see, you know, a stabilization, a tapering, you know, and like, yeah, if you're making, you know,
but it's not like
if you're making a Cards Against Humanity knockoff, yeah, you might have a harder time getting that kickstarted these days. But that's less an indication of the bubble about to burst and more example of people's tastes changing and realizing that, hey, we don't need another, you know, fucking adult party game. Like that is
but those
saturated.
are still real popular.
Yeah. I mean, even when we go to like Game Lounge for game nights, people break out Cards Against Humanity.
Well, Cards Against Humanity will be popular
like,
for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I meme or like a lot of those things? Like, yeah.
They find a way to get on shelves.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think there's still plenty of room for board games to grow. I think we'll see it grow for several more years. You know, we might see more things like TMG, you know, being like, hey,
Tapering
we as a
back.
company are going to scale back.
Letting off the gas a little.
Yeah.
But that's
and
just-
it feels like Simon has done that a little bit too. Yeah.
But just because one or two companies pull back doesn't mean that there's not going to be like 5 new independent companies. Like it seems like every day now I see in like on Facebook or Twitter some company I've never heard of that's like, we're releasing our 3rd new board game, and it's like, whoa, who are you?
Yep.
What?
So yeah, no end in sight, and double-digit growth the last year, and probably more and more growth in years to come.
Next up on news, Eagle Griffin Games has announced the pre-orders for the Rococo Deluxe Edition.
Speaking of not being on Kickstarter.
Yeah. So January 22nd, the Deluxe Edition Rococo will launch. It's going to be another EGG big box with art by, again, Ian O'Toole. Man, that guy's doing a lot of work. And so over 7 rounds, you're going to be putting on the best ball that you can, and full on Eagle Griffin production and everything, big box, all that.
But they do realize
But they're not doing it on a Kickstarter this time.
that they don't need to.
Nope.
And some companies know that, but they're still like, but we still want to. But they're like, oh, we think we can get enough of this without having to go to Kickstarter. So just pre-order.
Until February 2020, when Kanban EV will be coming to Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's probably part of that too, is they're like,
Yeah, Rococo.
They didn't want to do like Kickstarter.
Exactly.
yeah.
Or might not even be able to.
Depending on, yes.
Kickstarter has been crunching down
Yeah.
on that.
Successive.
I wonder,
Kickstarter.
now I'm wondering more if it's just that over it.
I mean, that might be part of it.
Yeah.
So-
we can't do Kickstarter, so we're going to just say that we're not going to do Kickstarter and
Yeah.
we'll look better. And then people are like, by the way, though, we have that Kickstarter coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Rococo Deluxe Edition is going to include several expansions that were previously released: the Jewelry Box, Festivity Dress, and Fancy Dresses promo, as well as the all-new Madame du Barry solo mode expansion. And then they're also re-releasing Fleet the Dice game, Stolen Paintings, and Gangster's Dilemma. And then, as we mentioned, in February, they will be kickstarting the new Kanban EV, an updated version with all new, again, Ian O'Toole art. It's going to include electric vehicles now. More common since 2014 and are the future of the automobile industry. So, wow, the box art for Kanban EV looks real good.
Yeah.
I just
both
scrolled
of them-
down to that.
Yeah,
Like,
both of them
holy
look real
shit.
good.
Yeah.
Eagle Griffin, still a threat.
Yep. Well, I'm glad I have a new job, and I'm glad that February is after I get back from Japan, so I'm going to be able to kickstart Kanban.
Yeah.
And then, hey, interestingly enough, I might have a copy of Kanban for sale.
Have you played it?
Uh-huh.
Okay. That's good.
I've played Kanban like 3 or 4 times. I like Kanban.
Yeah.
The biggest problem I have with Kanban is the fuck awful graphic design of that board.
All right.
I can't wait to see what Ian O'Toole does with it, because not only is his art great, his graphic design is on point.
Yep.
So, all right, that wraps up news. So we can move on over to some Kickstarters. Speaking of Kickstarters,
There's actually Kickstarters because, it's after Christmas.
yes,
First up in Kickstarters is Deep Space D6 Armada. Very well funded, $100,000 of its $27,800 goal, just over 2,200 backers, and about 2 weeks left to go. Its pledge being $48.
Yeah. So D6 Armada is a worker placement game for 1 to 4 players in the DSD6 universe. Which, when I first looked at this, like I saw the Deep Space, and then I just saw 6, and for some reason my brain went like Deep Space Nine. I was like, how did they get the rights to that?
Star Trek? Probably wasn't hard.
Yeah. Anyway, in this particular worker placement game, you're going to be customizing your starship, building a crew, and then trying to save the galaxy. It is a fully cooperative game.
And it's a multiplayer sequel to the original solitaire game, Deep Space.
Six, yeah.
Deep Space D6. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why it says it uses the DSD6 universe.
Yeah, and I was like, that box looks familiar. And it's because,
I don't remember that other game at all, to be honest. Anyhow, in this one, in Armada, you and up to 3 friends will work together, completing missions, fighting enemy fleets in ship-to-ship combat, and ultimately defeating an evil federation. There's over 50 different station modules, more than 30 unique units that will help you build up your forces, and as you go out finding resources to feed that engine. Looks like a pretty straightforward game. Gonna choose a starship, get crew, and then complete objectives. Then upgrade that ship some more, and eventually you'll defeat the Federation, which is a rotating selection of enemies. But like different cards will be the different federations. So, I don't know.
It seems neat. You do because you do space combat, but there's also away missions, so you're going on planets and things like that. Reminds me a little bit of FTL.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was getting here.
Yeah.
Basically, it's played out over a series of rounds. Each round, you go through 3 phases. First phase is the planning phase, where you perform actions to travel between planets and prepare for upcoming tasks. Then there's the encounter phase, where you complete away missions or fight enemy fleets at your current location, either together or alone, depending on whether other players are teaming up with you. And then there's the resolution phase, where you do an event and different threats that can pop up, and any hazard effects from those previous rounds are resolved.
And you're buying weapons and upgrading your ship. The little weapon things in the draft rulebook look very similar to the weapon things that are in FTL.
Yeah. Even the art style is very reminiscent of FTL.
Yeah.
Crew and heroes are different dice that are all unique. And then there's station tiles and cards. The starship boards are going to be double layered, so there's slots to put in the different upgrades and things like that. Looks pretty nice. Its draft rulebook is pretty early still. Yeah, they even said it's just like a prototype rulebook. So
yeah, some of these Kickstarters have some pretty in-depth rulebooks already in there. This still seems pretty early.
Yeah.
No stretch goals in this one. Just the one pledge, which is always nice.
Shipping's pretty affordable. $7 to $10 US, 11 to 16 Canada, 11 to 18 EU and Australia, 11 to 22 Asia, rest of the world 19 to 28.
Yeah.
So
not terrible.
Not awful. I've seen way worse for international shipping. So go check that out if little FTL-esque D6 dice game sounds interesting.
I'm interested.
Deep Space D6 Armada on Kickstarter now. Next and last up in Kickstarter,
we have Dragon Ball Z Smash Battle, the miniatures game. I can only say that this one is extremely well funded because it has $17,868 of its $1 goal, 115 backers, and just under a month left to go on this one. Its pledge is roughly all over the place. Its most popular being $191.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
So they claim that this is an official licensed Dragon Ball Z's miniature game with fully painted miniatures, which the opening picture they have for it does feature some fully painted miniatures that look like they're actual miniatures and not renders.
Because the company that is making this used to just make Dragon Ball figures.
Okay.
That people could buy. And so now they're making a game with their figure know-how. So that's why all the figures look real good. But the very top thing on here worries me. This is not a pledging project. This is a confirmed product. So it's happening. It's coming out. It's literally using Kickstarter for pre-orders.
Yeah.
Which Kickstarter is not a pre-order store as much as it totally is. But like no one's ever been like, yo, you're just pre-ordering the game. Like the game's done. This is just pre-orders.
Well, they go on. They do say like some components are still under development. Many are in production right now. So they might have a vague loophole from a Kickstarter terms of service perspective.
Yeah.
They do say everything offered during this campaign is Kickstarter exclusive, will not be available in retail, which those kind of things combined, like them saying like, oh, this isn't a Kickstarter. It's not a project. It's confirmed product. But then also being like, it's a confirmed product that you can only get here and now. Don't really jive. Like that seems like contradictory ideas and seems a little sketch.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a few things that are vague red flags here.
Oh, yeah,
I've just never seen a campaign like this before.
Yeah.
Not that the game looks like anything special, though.
No.
If you're familiar, are you familiar with Dragon Ball Z, Adrian?
I am familiar that Dragon Ball Z is an entity that exists. I remember listening to a Dragon Ball Z podcast coming back from Gen Con like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
What was that called again?
All Systems Goku.
That's what it was, yeah.
Unfortunately, one of the guys, they wanted to do, people were like, do Dragon Ball Super. But one of the guys actually just left that company to go run WWE's podcast arm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
it's the Tournament of Champions thing. Each character will have like health and stamina and ki, and then you fight each other with cards, events, continuous events, scenario events, etc. But it'll have really fancy miniatures. It's apparently going to have like a scouter app.
So I know.
So if someone has a power level of over 9,000, will my phone explode?
Fingers crossed. I mean,
so the base game is 8 pre-printed miniatures, right?
Yes.
I recognize the name of 4 of them: Goku, Frieza, Vegeta, Gohan. And then as I scroll down, there's an expansion pack that has Krillin, which I also recognize only because of All Systems Goku. I would not know who Krillin was if it was not for All Systems Goku.
So it seems like this is minis through the Frieza saga.
Yes, it is.
Because Nail merged with Piccolo, and then Piccolo became a super Namekian.
Yes, he did.
Because there was already the Super Saiyans.
Yep.
Sure.
And this is still young Gohan. And why is Bulma there?
Bulma was on the planet.
No, I understand that. But
why is she even in this to like that you can fight with her?
Yes.
I don't know. Bulma versus Frieza. Go.
I wonder who will win.
I mean, Tenjin doesn't have any.
Yeah, no,
Tien doesn't
yeah.
have any chance either.
Yeah, I don't know why he's doing there.
Yeah, maybe Tien can fight Nail. I don't know. They're probably similar in power level, maybe. He'll just do his solar flare over and over.
With the scouter app, is it just turning the flashlight on and just shining it in somebody's eyes?
Solar flare. Apparently, the app will actually look at where the minis are on the table. And then it'll pop up their related fighting and defensive skills.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you can do 1v1, 2v2, 3v3 even in your little battle setups that you're...
It looks like it's a little AR thing. They do have a under development picture of the app actually working, which is neat.
Gotcha.
There is...
Now, when is... I'm assuming the game, each battle is going to take like, I don't know, 4 hours, and then they'll release a Kai version of the game to a more reasonable 90 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, she can like heal people.
Okay.
Okay.
Just like a support character.
Yeah. I mean, good. Like, what else would she be?
Yeah. She has no real fighting skill.
I don't. Okay.
Wait.
No, I just noticed that Bulma's strength is 4 and Frieza is 6. That is very wrong in terms of...
But it's only like weird floating chair Frieza, so...
I'm pretty sure that Bulma is not only 2/3 as powerful as Frieza base strength.
I don't know what any of this means. I always thought Kamehameha was Street Fighter, not.
No,
That's a Hadouken.
Hadouken. Yeah.
That's right. I also thought Kamehameha was.
No, that's totally.
That's definitely
Okay.
Dragon Ball.
Yeah. One of my
Like episode 5 of the first Dragon Ball, in fact.
Yes. No, yeah. One of my favorite like little comic things I saw was it was two boxers, and then one of them just goes Kamehameha, and then it cuts to him just going like, "No, I just gave up because like, what if he could though?"
Well then.
Apparently, this company's really good at making very fancy, detailed minis
Yep.
and sculpts and stuff like that.
All kinds of stuff.
Who knows if the game is any good? The rulebook, I didn't see a link to it at all.
I mean, it seems pretty,
yeah,
like, but I mean, the minis look good. That's for sure.
yeah, but I'm sure you could just like buy those from
Yes.
them too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like-
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also like just
Launched.
launched as we're talking about it here, like shortly before starting the stream. So when you get down to their stretch goals way down here, their first stretch goal is at $1 million. And they're only at 17,000. So they've got high hopes. Their top stretch goal they're showing is at $8 million.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Wow.
Considering they've had like what 100
Like
backers.
8 million Hong Kong dollars or
Oh,
US
yes,
dollars.
It is 8 million Hong
Okay.
Kong dollars. I
Okay.
just saw they do have the Hong Kong.
yeah. Mine does not list the Hong Kong dollars, but
Well, if you look at the actual pledges, it makes more sense.
Okay, it's a little less than.
Yeah.
So it'd be like $800,000 or so.
Yeah, the 191 most popular pledge is 1,400 Hong Kong dollars.
okay.
Okay,
So they just need, a lot of those.
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
I mostly want to talk about it because it had that really fucking weird, like, this is a pre-order.
Yeah.
You're not pledging to make this happen. It's already happening, which is super weird.
You'll only get to see the outcome of this Kickstarter in the next episode.
Yes.
Credit to Bob for that joke.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's Dragon Ball Z Smash Battle, the miniatures game, which wraps up our Kickstarters. So we're done with Kickstarters.
Yes.
Which moves us on over to some listener feedback.
Indeed it does. Which we begin with emails.
Yes, we do. Sorry, I do normally kind of kick that over to you.
Yes, you do.
My order's all out of whack, man.
Yeah,
you
that one-
changed
that
it up.
one-
that
one
one
thing.
thing.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com, where Lance has sent this email titled NFL Twisted Rooting Style. Adrian, I'm curious of your approach to rooting in a positive manner for your team. I saw the end of their game against the Raiders and wondered how you were rooting for your team. I have a twisted way of rooting for my team. As soon as I know that we are not going to make the playoffs, I want us to try hard, but to lose the rest of their games so they will have the best possible draft position the following season. Is this crazy thinking, or do you do the same?
So I noticed that Lance Coffey in this email has a Dallas Cowboys star next to his name, which I think explains a lot about his twisted rooting style and why the Cowboys have been mired in mediocrity for ages. No. So I do understand that style of thinking. That, as soon as you are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, tank as hard as you can and get a high draft pick. I get that. I was there a little bit early in this season when we started like ridiculously bad. I was like, yep, fuck it. Crash and burn whole season. Let's go for that number one pick. But I always want to see the Broncos win. I don't follow enough of the rest of the NFL to care that much about draft position. I don't follow the draft. So yes, in theory, a higher draft spot is better for the team, but since I don't follow that, it's not important to me. Like each individual game is more important. I want us to make the postseason so I get to watch more Broncos football. So no, I'm pretty much always rooting for the win. It also helps that I have a solid amount of vague hatred for almost I can at least summon a vague amount of hatred for any given team in the NFL, so that whoever we're playing, I can find a reason to be like, yeah, fuck those guys, beat them Broncos. My city's better than your city. Woo. Especially he references there, catching that Raiders game. Those are division rivals, man. And like in that case, especially, like, yes, losing would have been better for the Broncos in that we would have gotten a slightly higher draft pick. However, winning means that we get to hand a division rival their last game ever in their current stadium, in their current city, a loss. Like the Oakland Raiders' final game was a loss to the Broncos. Like, that's awesome. You know, there was a vague chance they going into the game, they had a chance to get a playoff spot. Now, granted, somebody else losing fucked that up for them before we beat them.
Aha.
But us beating them would have also fucked them out of the playoffs, which would have been icing on a cake. You know, and so, you know, like next year, I hope, you know, I don't think we'll open with the Raiders as our first game, but man, that would be great too, because if we could then have the Oakland Raiders last game be a loss to the Denver Broncos, and then the Las Vegas Raiders first game be a loss to the Broncos, man, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Fuck the Raiders, man. Real hard. You know, like, so no, I pretty much always, especially against like division rivals, I always root for the Broncos to win. I always want to see us beat a division rival, regardless of whether it's good for us or not in the grand scheme of draft picks. And even once we're eliminated, like we were eliminated like 3 weeks ago, realistically, and I still wanted us to win every game. You know, I'm glad we finished the season 4-1. Like feel like we finished on an upswing, gives hope for the next season. You know, especially as I talked about earlier, like 2 of the teams we beat in that 4-1 stretch, we shut out the Texans, and they just went and stomped in their wild card game. The Titans beat the frickin' Patriots in their playoff game. Like, those are both teams we beat in that 4-1 stretch. So that gives me a little bit of, you know, moral victory, you know, vague hope for the future kind of a thing. So now I always root for the Broncos to win. Like, the only exception would be like if we started like 0-8, yeah, I'd probably just be like, dude, don't win a single fucking game. If you're going to start 0-8, like, and just be that bad, that fast, like, just, nope. I'd have stopped watching by 0-8, though, so.
What would happen could they concede, theoretically? Like, is that a thing you can do? Okay. You have to come and play.
You have to come and
What
play.
happens if you don't?
You probably lose all of your sponsorships,
Oh, man,
your players.
That's what I figured.
I'm sure there would
extreme
be
ramifications.
Yeah.
The fines from the league would be because
there's a TV
television contracts that would. Yeah, no, you can't do that. And players wouldn't want to, like, there would be no faster way to ruin an NFL organization. Like, the first time an NFL organization did that, like, as much as the Browns suck, if there had ever been a spot, if at 0-15, the Browns were just like, we're not going to even go to this last game of the season, like, the Browns would no longer exist. Like, they still exist despite an 0-16 season. They would not exist if they just didn't go to a game.
And what about if they just were like, all right, well, third string, just have at it, guys.
Oh, they do that.
Teams do that all the
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hockey teams do that, and then they get in fights.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, you're putting out your third string against us, and then they just fucking go at it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't want to get your star players hurt, you know, and star players don't want to get hurt in a truly meaningless game.
Yeah.
You know, so that's not uncommon. And when you're
I think what Manning did that in one of his later games, just so he would get that record for starts. He would do one play, start, and then the second string came in right after.
Yeah. Yeah. So things like that happen a decent amount.
Okay.
You know, like, yeah, there's no sense playing in a meaningless game if you're, you know, a star player who an injury could, like, end your career, you know.
Fuck up Manning's giraffe neck.
Which happened. It did happen. So, yeah. And teams phone it in. Like, the Browns and the Lions both in their own 16 years were both, like, towards the end of those seasons, they were shells.
The Bengals almost did it this year.
Yeah, the Bengals almost did
and
it
then
this year.
one guy was so happy that they won that he fucking clobbered a ref. He was like, yeah, and then knocked the ref over.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was
I'm going to
funny.
have to go look for that. But
Hit him with his helmet.
Yeah. But no, yeah. Always root for the Broncos to win. I always want them to win. I have yet to come across a situation where I've been like, hey, Broncos, you should lose. So I get it. I don't judge. I do get that line of thought, but it's not for me. So
You can stop talking about football now.
I'm done talking about football now.
And that's it for emails at milehighgameguys.com.
Right on. Zach, was there any BGG?
No.
Okay.
Nothing. No.
All right. No BGG. Nothing through any of our other no YouTube comments. Pablo's been silent lately.
He's been busy I don't know, proofreading rule books or something.
Yeah. Prepping for LieriaCon in 3 months. That I won't be going to. Aw.
Going to Japan instead.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. We did have a new patron over the holidays, though. So thanks so much to Chris for being our latest $1 patron, which I think means I get to turn it over to you. So thank you so much, Chris, for supporting the show. We do really appreciate you. I unfortunately, per the terms of the $1 pledge,
does he know what
have to
happens?
turn you over to Jeff. It's been a while. It's been a while since we.
So you've decided to give us 12 cents an episode per.
Not now.
Well,
like 25 cents an episode now.
But including streaming.
But it's
yeah. So now you're paying even less per amount of content that we make.
Arguably.
So Chris is a Punchboard Media member with his dirt bags of holding, and I don't want to say that plural because he is the dirt bag of holding. The rest of his friends are probably nice, but since he only gave us $1, he is the true dirt bag of holding.
Indeed.
No need for a plural there. Dirt bag of holding, that just means you, Chris.
But yeah, thanks, Chris, for pledging.
And I also plugged his Punchboard Media.
I know you did. Yeah. You got right. That was a nice, giveth and taketh.
Yeah. Now he's just Dirtbag Chris.
Hot Hands Luke, Dirtbag Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the nicknames. You've been on fire with your last few.
Yeah.
And so what is Dirtbags? It's an actual play.
An actual play role playing podcast.
Gotcha. Yeah. So they just play it on there.
Yeah, so they play a lot of different RPGs and stuff.
Okay.
He's given me advice and stuff on
gotcha.
streaming RPGs and one-shots and things like that.
Gotcha.
So he's a real dirtbag.
Yeah. Huh?
I know he's helping me.
Hopefully his save rolls go to shit.
May all of your dread polls end collapse.
Hopefully all your rolls are ones, like the $1 you gave us.
Just know when that happens, it'll just be like, MHGG curse me.
I deserve this.
Yeah. Yep.
If you want to roll 20s, you know what you got to do is all we're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody else who wants to support us through our Patreon, it's patreon.com/milehighgameguys, and we do appreciate all of our fan support. So thanks to all our patrons. Yeah. They made all of this streaming possible. All that equipment we bought for it. All the work. All of it.
Tables.
Chairs, more chairs soon, comfortable chairs.
Yeah.
Although I'm actually pretty comfortable with mine. So, yeah, that basically wraps things up. If you would like to get a hold of us, there are multiple ways to do so. You can send us an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on Twitter, where I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have an Instagram page at MHGameGuys as well. And our Facebook is facebook.com/MHGameGuys. Sorry about that. Our website, milehighgameguys.com, has episode posts with all of the links to the various news and Kickstarter items that we talk about, as well as links to other ways to get a hold of us, things like our Slack channel, which is popping, full of people. Hot Hands Luke has joined. Dirtbag Chris has joined. Ofer's always over there, just shitting all over me, posting images of like, oh, improve your streaming. And it's just him with like a window open over my face for the stream because I'm rude.
I'm bummed that we can't change other people's names in there.
I know.
So we could then make it Dirtbag Chris, but then also anytime Paul puts his weird ass fucking long names, you could be like,
just fix it. No, Paul.
Just ban him every time.
I like how he's been PH for a while though.
Yeah.
We finally got to him and he's like, fine, fuck you. He's a litmus test.
Well, Wes is the one that got him to change, not us.
I thought it was Ant.
No,
Wes missed this entire conversation.
No, Wes was complaining about long name. So
Wes has complained about it. Andrew's complained about it. Lots of complaints about long names.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
I missed this entire conversation.
You missed a lot of
it was in real life.
If it was in real life, I definitely missed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also a link over on the website there to our BGG guild number 2731, where there is a calendar where we keep mostly updated with streams and events like that, as well as episode threads for you to comment on, all of those types of things. And finally, you can also watch us as we record these episodes, behind the scenes look all of the pre-cut stuff over on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. We stream our Friday plays over there. We stream on Sunday the recording of the Wednesday episodes over there, and then MHDD streams over there. We do a lot of video content over on the Twitch channel, so go check it out. And then also throw a shout out. It's been a little while since we've specifically shouted out, and not in the tail bumper stuff at the end, but actually shouted out. We are members of Punchboard Media, along with a lot of other awesome content people like our friends Jake and Danielle over at Draft Mechanic, Patrick and Eric from Patrick and Eric in the Morning, formerly What Did You Play This Week podcast thing, Chris, Dirtbag Chris from Dirtbags of Holding is also over there. Whole bunch of awesome content creators over at Punchboard Media. Punchboardmedia.com if you want to go check out all of the different people over there and the different things that they're putting out. So, yeah, all that stuff. As always, we would like to thank our sponsors, Gray Fox Games, for their continued support of our show. They are about to have a new Kickstarter coming out, Tortuga 2199, launching on Kickstarter in 15 days, 12 hours, and 44 minutes from time of recording.
2 weeks.
2 more weeks. So we'll have more information about Tortuga coming up. They've been slow trickling some artwork and stuff that looks pretty awesome. And little bits of information here and there. We'll have a more in-depth look at it next week. And then the Kickstarter will launch, like we said, in 2 weeks. So looking forward to checking that out and seeing what they've got coming. So that wraps everything up. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We really appreciate you. Oh, sorry. Wow, it's almost like we didn't do this in 2 weeks and I just forgot everything. It's 2020. It's a new year.
It's new year.
New year, new show.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have a prepared statement?
Of course. Gray Fox Games, quality games, cleverly crafted. Also, boss, during the day, it's bright, but at night, it's dark. As an experienced soldier, I'm sure you'll be able to make use of this.
That is some in-depth strats for, the various amount of lighting in day and night.
That the sun does, yeah.
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 Right on. That wraps everything up. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you are interested, if you're watching the stream or catching it shortly after the fact on Tuesday, MHDD launches episode 1 of the new campaign, Zarya's Champions. We did episode 0 last night, where we introduced our characters. Leander, our new DM, moving from the Mr. Tiki player role over to the DM seat. He introduced the world of Zarya. I can't remember how to say it already. He introduced the world and the map and everything. We introduced all of our characters. We unveiled our awesome new art that we commissioned for it. And we're excited to start episode 1 on Tuesday. So as you're listening to this, you can also still jump back over to Twitch, catch the tail end of that stream that we'll do Tuesday. And then, we'll all be back here. Maha Game Guys will be back on Friday with a stream, except for Jeff, because Jeff will be going back home to Chicago to be with his family.
Yes.
Like some kind of person who spends time with their family.
Yep.
But Zach and I will be streaming something. We haven't decided what yet.
No idea.
We were going to do PAX, but we wanted to include Jeff in that, so we might push it off a week. But yeah, we'll update the calendar over on BGG, and we'll tweet and all of that shit about it. So you'll know, you'll hear. I think that's everything. So I'm gonna shut her down. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
And I'm Kamehame Jeff.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.